So tell me all about when you met your aunt for the first time. What was the situation? How did you get down there?
Well, actually, the meet for the first time was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I actually had a friend of mine take me up there. At first, when we arrived, I wasn't sure if I was going to have the courage to actually go up and knock on the front door.
Were you scared to meet her?
I was, you could say it was nerve-wracking first day. Yeah.
What made you go knock on the door?
Well, I just finally worked up the courage to go up and knock on my mother's front door, and I walked inside, and there she was at the front door, and she was actually in the kitchen with my mother, and that's where we met for the first time.
What was it like to see her for the first time?
It was a very rewarding experience.
So how did you and your mom discover that you had an aunt that you had never seen before?
Well, actually, the whole thing came about through the famous website Ancestry.com. My mother did she went to Ancestry.com and she did the Ancestry DNA test kit. She sent her DNA back, and that's when we got the results back a couple of months later. And I learned that I had a full-blooded aunt on my mother's biological side, family side, about a year later. In fact, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you at Ancestry.com for everything you did for helping us. I'll never forget it.
Awesome. Did it say on the website that you had a blood relative that had also taken the test?
Well, actually, I never saw the results on the actual website. Basically, the entire situation came about when I got a phone call while I was here at the Invisible Layer studio. And I was told by my mother that I was going to be able to get to meet her sister for the first time.
Well, so you had a friend drive you to Tulsa, and that's where you met her.
Well, actually, he called me up one afternoon and told me that he was going to be driving up there for my mother and her husband's big 4th of July celebration they have at their home every year. And so he told me that he was going to be driving up there, and that saved me the 3.5-mile walk from downtown Oklahoma City over to the new Greyhound station over on Reno and Martin Luther King.
So you would have had to take a bus to Tulsa?
Basically, yes.
Okay. What was it like meeting her for the first time? What did you guys talk about?
Well, she showed me like an old photograph of my great-grandparents who were all railroaders. They all worked for the railroad. That's not figurable. That explains why I have such why I have such a big connection to the Heartland Flyer, because railroading is in my family's blood.
What did it feel like to find that out?
It was actually exhilarating, actually.
Figure out that you had this in your blood and you didn't even know it.
You could say that.
How was your mom?
Well, she was actually the first one who got to meet her sister. She actually went out of state to meet her for the first time. The first time I actually ever spoke to her sister was on the phone, was the night of our Even in Death red carpet premiere at Oklahoma City Community College. And we were about to go in for a rehearsal, and I get a phone call from a 918 area code. And that's when I got to speak with my mother and her sister and her two brothers for the first time, actually.
Was that exciting? How did you feel about new family members, I guess?
I knew in the long run that it was going to be a very exciting and very rewarding experience. Talking to my mother's sister on the phone for the first time was kind of, it was kind of like when Lieutenant Barclay on Star Trek Voyager made contact with USS Voyager in the Delta Quadrant for the first time.
It was a whole new world for you.
That's a good way to put it.
So, do you plan on seeing her a lot more?
Well, my mother and I are talking about it. We've talked about going to California, where her sister lives. Her sister lives in the beautiful town of Anaheim, California.
So she's close to Disneyland.
Fairly.
Yes.
Fairly.
Would it be really exciting for you to get to travel out to her?
Well, I have actually been to California once, Los Angeles. And yeah, now, as far as getting there, I would have to say, instead of flying where you don't get to see a lot of the very beautiful scenery, I'd say riding Amtrak from Oklahoma City to Anaheim, California would be the way to go.
That's awesome. Well, overall, was this a really good thing to happen to you?
Absolutely.
How does it make you feel?
I'd say overall very happy.